I am high maintenance, I admit it. I only drink water from custom-etched Baccarat crystal tumblers, and I refuse to sign any contract unless it is with a pastel pink Mont Blanc pen. Everyone in the office, from the interns to the executives, had long since accepted my quirks. That was until a short-haired, steel-faced woman was parachuted in as our new director of sales. Rumor had it she had spent 15 bitter years clawing her way up from the absolute bottom of the corporate ladder, eating dirt and collecting scars just to survive. The very second she laid eyes on my workstation, she blew a fuse. I cannot stand women like you, she hissed, her voice vibrating with a decade of resentment. Who exactly are you putting on a show for at work? Back in my day, I drank until my stomach bled just to close my first major contract, and you, what do? Just glide by on that face. I did not even look up as I buffed my nails. Do not stress, director. This princess has been the company's top producer 3 years running. The sneer on her face did not falter until she actually opened my performance report. The disbelief on her face was almost poetic. You, top producer, are you sure you did not climb your way to these numbers by some less than respectable means? A trophy is a trophy, she scoffed, slamming the folder shut. Keeping someone like you on the payroll is an insult to every single person in this industry who actually worked for their success. You are fired. I blew a speck of dust off my French manicure. Oh, please. What is wrong with being a princess? At least my contracts are not fragile. If she wanted to kick me out of my own kingdom, she would have to go through the king first. My name is Diane, she announced, standing at the head of the conference room. Her voice had the booming, unyielding gravel of a drill sergeant. She swept her gaze across the bullpen, looking at us as if we were recruits failing basic training. Let us establish some ground rules. Effective immediately, no personal decorations on your desks. No loud, distracting clothing. No non-standard beverage containers in the workspace. She paused, letting the silence heavy up the room. When I was an associate, I was out on construction sites in sub-zero weather. I did not have time to stop for a sip of warm water, let alone curate an aesthetic. Young people today treat their offices like boudoirs. Your mind is not on the work. The female associates exchanged uneasy glances, shrinking back into their ergonomic chairs. No one dared to make a sound, except for the soft, melodic clink of my crystal tumbler. I was currently sipping an iced lavender latte through a reusable pink glass straw. Diane's eyes locked onto me like a heat-seeking missile. She marched over to my desk and came to a dead stop. She stared down at the Baccarat tumbler, the matching set of pink leather desk organizers, my mini white tea diffuser, and the neat row of shimmering, high-end nail polishes lining my monitor riser. Her brow knitted into a tight, disgusted knot. What is your name? I looked up, moving with deliberate, unhurried grace. Gwen, she repeated, tasting the name like it was spoiled milk. Figures, it matches the attitude. Without warning, she snatched my crystal glass off its coaster and threw it straight into the trash can. Clack. The heavy crystal hit the metal bin, ringing loudly through the quiet office. Every head in the bullpen snapped in our direction. From now on, you use the company-branded paper cups. Nobody gets a hall pass under my watch. I did not argue. I did not even blink. I simply opened my bottom drawer, pulled out an identical backup Baccarat tumbler, inserted a fresh pink straw, and took another slow sip. Diane's chest rose and fell in sharp, angry hitches. Are you mocking me? I blinked up at her, my expression utterly innocent. A princess always has a backup plan. Diane, what are you going to do about it? A few desks away, someone stifled a laugh. Diane threw a lethal glare toward the noise, instantly silencing the room. My assistant, Molly, kept her head down but slipped me a silent thumbs up beneath the edge of her desk. Diane took a deep, trembling breath, turned on her heel, and marched back to the front of the room. She flipped open the quarterly sales ledger, trying to channel her fury into authority. Fine. If you want to be difficult, let us see if your numbers justify your arrogance. She started reading the rankings from the bottom up, pairing each woman name with a sharp, public dig. Tiffany, 3rd from the bottom. Maybe if you spent less time on your makeup and more time on cold calls, you would not be drowning. Megan, 5th from the bottom. When I was your age, I was hospitalized with a bleeding ulcer from whining and dining clients to secure my first account. And what are you doing? Posting selfies on Instagram. Megan's cheeks burned crimson as she stared at her lap. The other women in the room instinctively pulled their shoulders in, trying to make themselves invisible. The men in the department, however, received a pass. Diane's tone softened significantly when she hit their names. Tyler, upper middle tier. Good work. I can tell you are a grinder. Tyler was Diane Goldenboy, a junior associate she had brought over from her previous firm. He was a perfect me version of her, humorless, cheap suits, and a permanent scowl. Finally, she reached the top of the list. Gwen, top producer, 3 years running. She stopped, looking up as if she had read a typo in a serious document. You are telling me you have the highest volume in the department. She looked down at the paper, then back at me, as if trying to reconcile the pastel pink stationery and glittery nail polish with the massive 7-figure revenue numbers on the page. You treat this office like a boutique. Your nails are more detailed than most people's slide decks. How exactly are you closing these deals? She flipped the page, her eyes scanning the data points. 3 consecutive years at number 1. Your annual volume is double the rest of the team combined. Yep, I said, leaning back in my chair. Math does not lie. She slammed the ledger onto the podium, the loud bang echoing off the glass walls. I do not buy it. A trophy is a trophy. Good numbers do not always mean good business practices. She looked out at the rest of the room, raising her voice to address the entire team. I have seen this story 100 times. A young woman uses her aesthetic assets to charm clients, coasting on luck and brief infatuations. But beauty fades, clients get bored, and then you are left with absolutely nothing. I ignored her, picking up my pink rollerball to doodle a tiny perfect crown in the margin of my notepad. Diane's mouth twitched with anger, but she forced herself to maintain a cold professional composure. She took a slow breath and delivered her strike. Starting today, we are restructuring the accounts. Gwen, top 3 clients, Matthew Enterprises, Evergreen Industries, and Vesper Technologies, are being reassigned to Tyler. The silence in the room became absolute. Those 3 accounts alone made up 40% of our department annual revenue. Diane looked around the room, entirely self-assured. Enterprise accounts require grit and endurance. Tyler works until midnight, never takes a weekend off, and knows how to grind. That is the kind of dedication our legacy clients deserve. She looked back at me, her lip curling slightly. We cannot risk our most valuable relationships on someone who might be in the middle of a manicure when a client has an emergency. The room remained dead silent. A few of the girls shot me looks of deep sympathy sympathy, but fear kept them quiet. I set my pink pen down and looked Diane dead in the eye. Director, reassigning enterprise-level accounts requires a formal audit and approval from our CEO, Douglas. You do not have the authority to make that call unilaterally. Diane let out a harsh, dry laugh. Authority. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number on speakerphone, and let it ring in front of everyone. Philip, it is Diane. I am restructuring the sales assignments to optimize our high-value accounts. A deep, smooth male voice came through the speaker. Philip, the executive VP. Go right ahead, Diane. You have my full support. Let me know if anyone gives you any pushback. Diane hung up, her face glowing with triumph. Any other questions, Gwen? Behind me, Molly gently tugged at my sleeve, whispering anxiously. Gwen, Philip is her old mentor from her previous company. He will always side with her. Be careful. I looked down at my freshly manicured nails, letting the light catch the subtle shimmer. Then I looked up and smiled. Honestly, this princess does not mind a little vacation. The next morning, Philip himself showed up in the sales department. He stood at the entrance of the bullpen, adjusting his tie, and cleared his throat. I brought Diane into this company because of her proven track record. Her structural decisions represent the direction of this firm. If you have objections, you can file them, but the execution of her directives is non-negotiable. With the executive VP backing her up, Diane did not waste any time. She walked straight to my desk, picked up a cardboard box, and swept everything on my desk into it with one swift, violent motion. It was clean, efficient, and brutal, like a sanitation worker clearing a sidewalk. Finally, she noticed the small hand-drawn crown sticker I had put on the corner of my monitor. She peeled it off, crumpled it into a tiny ball in her palm, and tossed it into the box. This is a place of business, not your personal playhouse. She carried the box to the hallway and dumped it onto the carpet. Being top producer for 3 years does not make you untouchable. Under my leadership, nobody gets special treatment. If you want to work here, you play by my rules. She looked back at the bullpen. I have run teams for 15 years and I have never tolerated a diva. You are the first and you will be the last. Philip stood beside her, his arms crossed, his silent presence offering her absolute immunity. A few of the newer associates, sensing where the power lay, quickly chimed in. Honestly, it is about time. The desk was getting a bit ridiculous. Yeah, some of us are working 80-hour weeks while others are getting blowouts. How is that fair? I always wondered how she landed those accounts anyway. The clients are all men, right? That last comment cut through the air like a knife. Several of the female associates winced, their faces turning pale, but no one spoke up, because Philip was standing right there, and his silence was as good as an endorsement. I did not say a word. I looked at my empty desk, then calmly picked up my phone. Director, those items you just threw into the hall were not cheap. I hope you are prepared to cover the cost. Diane did not even look at me. If they are so precious, you should not have brought them to work. Philip stepped forward, delivering the final blow. Gwen, you are on a 1-week administrative suspension for insubordination. Your accounts will be managed by Tyler in the interim. When you return, you will fall in line. If not, you can hand in your resignation. Suspension. The word fell like an anvil. The only sound left in the room was the low electric hum of the air conditioner. I stood up, slung my pink leather tote over my shoulder, and smoothed down my skirt. I was not angry. I actually smiled. A suspension. Perfect. I had been working on a $10 million strategic partnership with Matthew Enterprises for the last 6 months. Next week, the CEO, Mr. Matthew, was scheduled to come in person to finalize the terms. He had personally requested that I handle the closing, and they were sending Tyler. Tyler did not even know that Mr. Matthew liked to spend the first 10 minutes of every meeting talking about his daughter equestrian competitions. I adjusted my collar and let my voice drop into its sweetest, softest register. Of course, Philip. This princess is going home to rest. My hands were getting dreadfully dry from all this office dust anyway. Without a backward glance, I walked out. I did not care about their little triumph. I was happy to let them celebrate. For now, the minute I left, Diane completely erased my presence from the desk. The baccarat glass was replaced with a generic gray paper cup. My pink desk pad was swapped for stacks of manila client folders. She even took the plush pink velvet cushion from my chair and threw it in the break room trash. She gestured for Tyler to take the seat. From this point on, Gwen portfolio is entirely yours. Tyler nodded eagerly, opening the folders and picking up the desk phone. He dialed the first number on the list, Mr. Matthew. Mr. Matthew, hello. This is Tyler. I am taking over the account from Gwen, and I will be your primary point of contact moving forward. Click. Mr. Matthew hung up before Tyler could even finish his sentence. Tyler's smile froze. He cleared his throat and dialed the second number, Evergreen Industries. Hi, this is Tyler. Click. Another dial tone.